Gifford here, and welcome to another installment of our Martelli Sew and Show box. And this is the box that you would have received for the month of June. And I'm very excited about it, and I think you're going to like it too. I actually have a box here in front of me. This is our instructional video, so we're going to go over what's in the box, and then I'm going to show you how to make it. So here it is. This is the box that you will have received for this month, and it is absolutely a lot of fun. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to see what is inside. Oh my goodness, we start off with the roadmap. So the roadmap has all the instructions of everything that's going on in the box. It's going to talk about what's in the box. It's got the QR codes so that you could scan that, and that way you can come to watch me do the video. It also has the QR codes for all of our social media posts that you could go to, and it's just absolutely a lot of fun. We talk about the fabric, all the different materials that's in here. It's just a great tool so that you have an idea of what you got going on in the box. We also have the fabric and all the materials that you're going to need to be able to complete this project. So this month we are doing what is called a puff pouch, or a puffy pouch as I would like to call it. The puff pouch. This is the Martelli Puff Pouch, and this one is the medium size. And just so that you know, we have other sizes available for you. Also, we also are going to have it in a small. This is the medium, a large, and an extra large. And I'll show you those a little bit later on today. Now we also have the materials that you're going to need to be able to make it. So I'm going to open this up. Well, you know what? I'm just going to pull it aside so you can see it. And that way you'll see what all is in the box. Because you're going to have a choice of two, there's going to be two different colors that's going to be in the box. And I have it all right here. Here's your template for the Martelli Puffy or Puff Pouch, and this one again is the medium. A few things that we're going to go over in a minute, and I'll talk to you about those. Here is the main fabric. This is I'm calling the exterior fabric, so everybody is going to have this piece right here. Beautiful, beautiful piece of fabric. This is, I believe, by Timeless Treasures. This is Miss Chung Wong, one of my favorite designers. So this one here is in the box, and then you're going to have a choice. It's going to be either this purple or this beautiful lime green, and this is going to be your lining that you'll be using for the project. You're going to have a beautiful rainbow zipper in here, and then you're going to have the beautiful rainbow zipper pull inside. You're going to have a swivel clasp that we're going to be using for your project, and a D-ring, and then also you're going to have a nice piece of heavyweight fusible fleece. And it's going to be enough that you're going to need to use for the exterior piece. And plus, again, the full written instructions, front and back, on making the project, of course, and then the video that you're watching right now. So what does it look like? I'm going to show you. You already see what it looks like? Here it is. This is the puffy pouch in the medium, and this one has the green on the inside. So here's where we used our zipper. We got the fusible fleece that's on the inside here. And then we added the little tab with your D-ring, and you got your lobster claw or your clasp right here on the edge. And I'm going to show you how to make the strap, how to make the little D-ring tab. And this is going to be a little bit different than the one I've done right here because I wanted to make it two-toned, just like we have our two-tone straps. So I'm going to show you that. Here it is in the green, and here it is with the purple. How cool is that? So we'll be making this together today, and I hope you enjoy making it. So here's some things that you're going to need that's going to be helpful in making this project. I got it all right here. You're going to be using some clips. Of course, your rotary cutter, the precision scissors. I've got these in here. A turning tool, but I'm going to show you how I found using a pencil with an eraser on it, a dull pencil with an eraser on it is going to be very useful for that. Some tweezers to kind of help hold that zipper in place. A marking tool because you got a couple places you got to mark. And then here's just some coordinating threads. Now I'm going to do all of mine in white so that you'll be able to see my stitches. And then some sort of material if you're going to be for gluing your fabric to that fusible to protect your iron. This is just a silicone sheet. Parchment paper also works very well for this. So any of those items will work very well for doing this project. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start with the template. I wanted to take a minute to show you the template right here. This is our puff pouch. It's the medium. the I and the V that you see on there is that it does have the I for written instructions and the V, the video that you are seeing right here. We're trying to put this on all of our templates so that you know what those mean. And then you'll see right here on the side it says fold. So we're going to be putting this on the fold line. So that is the main things about the template. If you want to grab like one of the Martelli markers, the metallic markers, you could go ahead and highlight these things. You'll also notice right here, these are what I call these are darts. There's going to be 3 darts. You're going to have 1, 2, and then of course it's folded. You'll have 3 darts. So the darts is what gives it this little puffiness that pouches it out a little bit. So we're going to go through all of that and putting it together. But it has the little cut lines right here so that you can use a 45 or 28 millimeter rotary cutter. Now if you're having to where you're gluing the fabric to your fusible before you cut it out, then you're going to have to use a 60, but you're still going to have to use the your little scissors to get it completely cut. And I'll show you all that. All right, so let's get started on making this project, and it's going to be absolutely a lot of fun. So I do have my fabrics here in front of me. So, and I have my instruction sheet, so I'm going to go along with you, and we will walk through everything on the instructions on putting it together. And I did do a couple of steps ahead of time so that we can, you know, for time, make it a little bit easier for you. All right, so here's my fabric. So the first thing I want you to do when you get your fabrics, because they're going to be all folded up, is be sure to give them a good press and make them nice and flat. Nice and flat. Make sure you get all those extra creases out of there. You don't want to be seeing any of that. And then once you get it all done, all nice and flat, all ironed, I am going to have you cut off 1.5 inches off of the short end. And the short end is this edge right here, not the long end, but the short edge. Those pieces, that long 18 by 1.5 inch piece, is going to be used for making your handle, and it's also going to be used for making your tab. And because I'm doing it this way, there is lots of different ways that you can make a handle and that you can make a tab. But I wanted ours to have that two-tone look of the lining and the exterior. So I designed this one a little bit different so that you can have that two-tone. All right, so I'm going to line up my fabrics on the edge here, and I'm going to slide it down, and I am going to cut off 1.5 inches off the short end. So I got my selvages over here. This is my long ends here. I'm just cutting off 1.5 inches off of this edge right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just get the first cut where I'm going to square it up and get it all nice and straight on the edge first, and then we'll cut our 1.5 inches off. And it's just going to be little slivers just to get it all lined up. And if you notice, I went ahead and put both of the pieces right sides together. Just going to keep it together for when we do our next step, when we go to make the strap and the tab. So I'm just going to go over 1.5 inches and cut off that little strip right there from the edge, making sure you double check. I always check twice, measure twice, cut once. So good mantra to remember. Let's go ahead and get this 1.5 inch strip cut off. And while you have that 1.5 inch strip, I am going to go ahead and flip it over. I want to get it even on here, because the next thing I need, so it should be 18 inches is what you're going to see. I'm going to go ahead and trim this off on the end. I'm keeping my two pieces together. I kind of flipped it over to make sure everything was lined up. And then I am going to cut off now, off of that strip, I'm going to cut 2.5 inches off. 2.5 inches off. That's going to be my tab. So here's my tab pieces, and here is my strap piece. I'm going to go ahead and trim this little piece right here on the end because it's not lining up. It's not the same. It should be 15.5 inches, and we're going to use every bit of that to make our little handle strap for our project. All right, so these pieces right here, I'm just going to go ahead and set them aside because we'll work on those in a little bit later. Now you got two options on cutting out your project after that. So I'm going to set these right here. If you're going to, I'm going to go ahead and separate my green. And we'll do the green first. This is my lining. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half. Kind of give it a press. And then I'm going to fold it in half again. And I'm just going to bring it to where it's just to be where that selvage is. So I've got two folds here. So I can cut out both at the same time. I got my big single fold here and I got my double fold here. I am going to take my template and I'm going to set it. It won't fit this way on the big fold. I have to turn it this way so it is on this straight edge is going to now be on this fold right here. Now if you wanted to, you could go ahead and cut them out one at a time by just raising this, putting this here and cut here and then cut it here. If that makes it easier for you to cut. But what you're looking for is you want this edge right here to be along this edge. Now, I forgot to show you something. I want to prep this template. I don't want you to be seeing all of the extra material. So one of the things I've been talking about when I'm doing some of these videos is removing maybe excess browning material that's on your template. And if you happen to see where some of it is being seen, then take your rotary cutter and on an older mat and just kind of go around and try to remove any excess. But here's a little bit piece right here. Get all that out. You can also get a nail file and kind of flip it over and you could file it so that you don't have any of this brown showing on any of the edges. It just makes it easier for you to see everything that's going on, particularly right here along this edge, so that it doesn't mess up your cutting, particularly if you have templates that are very precise. So let's go back to getting this laid out again. I want this straight edge where it says fold to be right here on the fold. So we'll just do a single one, but you can double fold your fabric to get that cut. So I'm just laying my edge of my fabric and my template right here on this edge and getting it up as high as I can, making sure everything is being covered in here. You could go ahead and cut this in half if you want, but I have it right there on that edge to get this cut, and then we're just going to cut all the way around. So we're just going to do it as a single. And then just running your rotary cutter right up against the edge, just cutting it off. And because you've got that round, it makes it so easy to maneuver and get everything cut. And catch this little spot right here. Now we're going to do these areas right here. So right up against the edge, you're going to go right into that cut line. Always make sure that your hand is never in front of your blade when you're doing your cutting. Sometimes those cut lines can be a little tricky and you might come off of it. So be sure to cut right up against that edge and right into the cut line. And then to do the next one, making sure my hand is always out of the way, I go back into it and then I go forward. It might come out, might be just a little snip there. I give it a little tug. I'm going to cut that with my precision scissors. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this edge here. And then I'm going to cut this last one right here. I got a little bit of area right here, so I'm just going to get my little snips, and we're just going to snip that off right here. So this is what you're going to be having when you have it done because you placed it on the fold. So I was talking about the darts. In my instructions, I talk about the darts. These are your darts. You have 1, 2, 3. You have a center dart and the two outer edges. You're going to do that to all of your pieces. Now, if you're going to be doing the exterior piece, you have an option. You can go ahead and fuse your fleece to the entire piece of fabric and then cut them out that way. You'll be cutting out one at a time. Or you can go ahead and cut out your fabric and then fuse it to your fleece. To save on time, I already did that. I already have my fleece fused to my fabric. So you're going to cut out 2 of these and you're going to cut out 2 of your linings. So you'll have all of them done. 2 fabrics, 2 linings, 2 exteriors. And then you should already have, again, as I told you, you're going to have your strap and your tab already cut. So the next thing is we're going to be doing some sewing. So I want to show you when you're sewing these together, you're just going to place these pieces right sides together, and you're going to line up your dart right here, and you're going to find on the outer darts there's going to be a little bit of an overlap, and you're going to see it's going to be perfect when you sew right here, starting right here. You're going to sew all the way down 1/4 of an inch where you have these 2 straight edges lined up, and you're going to keep going. You're going to start here. You don't really need to back tack on the top, but you're going to stitch all the way down, and you're going to keep going to about right here. You're going to come all the way off. You're not going to stop here. You're going to sew all the way off the fabric. And I talk about that in instructions. You're going to sew all the way off to the fabric, and when you get to the very end here, be sure to back tack right here on the end. You're going to do that for here. When you do your center piece, you'll find that the center dart lines up perfectly. And then you're going to stitch it 1/4 of an inch right here, starting here and sewing all the way down till you come off of the fabric on the bottom, and you're going to back tack here. And then you're also, when you do your last dart, like the first one, when you fold these over, you're going to see it's going to have that little bit of an overhang, but when that overhang hits, it's going to be right there at that 1/4 inch where you're going to be sewing and coming off in the end. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to sew up. I'm going to show you sewing up the lining, and I'm going to show you sewing up the exterior fabric. We'll go ahead and get that done. Now I'm using white fabric, but go ahead and get you some coordinating fabrics if you want to use some coordinating fabrics. I have my machine set up for a 1/4 inch foot or 1/4 inch stitch, and we're going to just get all of these all sewed up, and they go pretty quickly. And this is where, just by sewing these darts, it's where it's going to get that puffiness to it. I always like to have my little starter piece. And we're going to get started. You'll see as I line this right up under there, you're going to see that my foot or my needle is going to be right there where that little bit of an overhang is going, and it's right there at that 1/4 inch. Keeping everything lined up, we're going to sew all the way down to the end, and just keep sewing off and then back tack right there. And you're going to do that over and over till you get all of the pieces all done. So let's get to the center section. You'll see the center lines up perfectly. This is where you had cut it, so it'll be lining up just the way you want it. And go ahead and stitch your 1/4 inch down. Back tacking at the end. And then the last one. Lining up your edges. You're going to see that little bit of a dog ear on the top. And then stitch that down. Let's go ahead and I'll show you sewing up the exterior piece. Same thing, you're going to have that same little dog ear right there. And just follow it all the way off. I found that I had to increase my pressure on my foot when I was doing these thicker pieces. That's that one, and then one more, we'll get this one done. Kind of flip it over to get this one. I can see my little dog ear we're going to be trimming off. And there we go. Okay, so there is a little bit of trimming. You kind of don't, you want everything to just kind of be straight across. So I just kind of pull this back just a little bit right here. And I'm just going to trim those little dog ears off. But because the next phase we're going to do is we're going to go to the iron. And I'm going to open these up. Now this project can also be done with the foam. So if I was doing foam, which I have done, and you'll see some in a minute when I show you the foam ones that I've done. I trimmed off some of that foam from up here, but we're only using these today. All right, so now we're going to go to the ironing station. I'm going to show you another little step that kind of makes it a little bit easier for when you're sewing your zipper and everything on. So if you'll notice, after we sewed our darts, it gave us that little puffiness to our fabrics, and it's just going to give it that extra dimension. So I found that by taking the time and pressing these seams open. Now, they're not going to completely open because it's a dart and the fabric meets there at the bottom. But I open them up as far as I can on the lining, and I'm only probably opening up about an inch on the exterior piece. But I just give it a minute just to give it a quick little press and pressing open the seams. I have a little tool that I usually help to open up my seams, but I didn't grab that. So we're just pressing our seams open. Of course, I do this after I've already trimmed it. Give it a good little press. If you want to touch it up with a little bit of starch, you can do that. I'm going to hit this little one that curled up just a little bit. Give it a press, 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 press. And because I love using my little block presses and seam presses, I'm just setting my little seam press right there on that, so it's set it just a little bit more. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the lining, or the exterior piece. So I'm just opening it up. But I'm not going to press it all the way down. I'm just mainly catching that first inch or so. And I will hit it with a little moisture there to kind of set it. It's going to be just less bulk for when we're sewing all of this down when we're doing our zipper part. Just giving it a little bit of an opening. Keeping your fingers out of the way. Going to add a little moisture right there to what I just pressed. And touch it again. Hear that steam? Kind of a little bit of a sizzle right there. And I am also going to set my little block press right there on that just to set it and keep it so it won't flip back up. And you'll do that to all 4 pieces. Just getting them all ready for the next step, because the next step is where we're going to be starting doing our zipper. All right, so these are ready to go. So let's start our zipper part. So you will have all 4 of your pieces ready, 2 linings and 2 of the exterior pieces. So now we're going to get our zipper. So grabbing your zipper tape, you'll find that you should have at least a 13-inch piece. So about 13, 14 inches is what you're going to need. Grabbing your zipper tape, you're going to take your zipper tape and you're going to fold it in half, end to end. Fold it in half. If you fold it this way, it doesn't fold as well. So fold it wrong sides together. This is the right side where you see the zipper tape and you see all the color. This is the wrong side where you don't see all the color. So you're going to fold it wrong sides together, matching up your ends. What we're doing is we're finding our absolute center. Folding it in half, finding your absolute zipper or center, and you can draw with a pencil, but I found it just grabbing your little precision scissors and just cutting a little notch right here at that fold. That's going to let me know where my center is. You need to know where your center. You could use a marking tool, but I'm just using my scissors. I'm creating another little dart. In sewing terms, you know what all those are. All right, so then you're going to grab your exterior piece. Now, if you're doing some of the other sizes, you're not going to know what size zipper they are. I'm going to have it in the instructions on for the small and for the large and extra large. This one here, it is from end to end, it is 9.5 inches. So you want it to be about 2.5 to 3 inches larger than than what it is from edge to edge. So whatever that may be, if it's a 15-inch wide, if it's 8-inch wide, you want to add at least 3 to 4 inches to the length of your zipper. You want to have that overhang. It's going to be easier for when you separate it to add your zipper pull to it. So this one here, we have this one at 13 inches. Now if you'll notice on your lining and your exterior piece and on your lining, you got your 3 darts right here, 1, 2, 3. You know that the center dart, this one right here, is the center here of the bag, and it's going to show that also on the lining. So you're going to take your zipper and you're going to place it right sides down with the farthest away edge on top of the centered right there on that center seam. This is where you're going to need your clips. So grab you a handful of clips because we're going to be clipping it from edge to edge, and then we're going to put our lining on top of that. So you're going to line that up right there, the center of your dart with the center of the dart on the zipper, lining up your edges, and you're going to put a clip. I'm going to grab a red one because that's my absolute center, and I've just got it clipped in place. And then you're just going to follow it all the way to the edge, lining up your edges, putting in a clip all the way down. And I put in several because I don't want anything to shift on me when we go to do our sewing. Just getting all the way to the very edge and putting a clip. And you should see that I have about a 2-inch overhang from the very edge, and that's what you want, at least a 2-inch, 1.5 to 2-inch overhang. The little bit more that you have, it's going to be a little bit easier when you put it all together. Do one side and then go ahead and follow it down to the other side. All right, so the next step is now grabbing your lining, and you're going to go ahead and put it on top of this. So we know that our red clip is our center right there. And so on the lining, you have your center right here, the center dart. You're going to set that right there on top of that. So remove that clip, put it right there on center, and then reposition your clip back there on that center. Making sure that it doesn't shift. This is where you're going to see sometimes that zipper, because it's a slight curve, will want to shift down just a little bit. So you're going to keep it all together. And you will be using you'll find using your tweezers will help it when we go to doing our sewing. Now I did say I do have a zipper foot, but I did do these without the zipper foot. So you can do it with or without the zipper foot. I'm going to show you that, how we're doing that. So as we got it already clipped, I am just going to go ahead and lift up my clip and reposition my lining right there on top. We're going to do that all the way down. And you'll see that your lining is going to match up right there with the edge of your exterior piece. And then just follow it to the other side. Just a matter of just kind of holding it and then repositioning your clip all the way down. Now on this one, I see that it's a little bit longer than my piece right here. If you see that happening, first make sure that everything is centered. Everything is centered. Sometimes you might have not have taken up enough seam allowance right here, and it will change a little bit right here. So no worries. If you see that it's off by just a little bit, make sure first that it's centered. And if it's off by just a little bit, you can go ahead and trim away that little bit. It's not going to change the shape of much of anything. It'll just make it easier for when you're doing your zipper. So I just give it just the tiniest little shave right there. It's not going to affect anything when we go to sew it all together. All right, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to stitch all the way across. Now you could use your zipper foot or you could use a regular foot. I actually have one that I just did here, but I already got my lining in here. So we're going to sew this one, and I'm going to show you. You're going to stitch all the way across. So I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to show you using a zipper foot. If you don't have a zipper foot, mine is the little E foot, then I'm going to show you what you're going to do if you have a machine that does not have a zipper foot, but you are able to move your needle. I'm going to show you what we're going to do for that. All right, so let's go ahead and get this sewed down. Got my little dog ears on here. All right, so if I'm using my regular foot and I don't have a zipper foot, you're not paying attention to a 1/4 inch seam allowance at all on this one. What you want is your zipper, is your needle to get as close to this zipper tape without touching or without sewing on to the teeth of the zipper tape. So I have my machine set and I want my foot, edge of my foot to be riding up against the edge of my zipper tape. So it's going to be the zipper teeth. So I will go ahead and I lower my foot without lowering my needle. I have it as close as I can possibly get it. And then I take my needle and I'm going to slide it as far over as I can get it. And then I'm just going to stitch all the way down. So it's getting as close as it can. So it looks like it's going to be about 1/8 of an inch from the zipper teeth. It doesn't make or break it. It'll be just fine. It will work just the same whether you do it with the regular foot or with a zipper foot. Now that's showing you how I would do it with a regular foot. Now if you have the zipper foot, I'm going to go ahead and put my zipper foot on. There we go. All right, so then I'm going to go ahead and put it on my zipper settings. So when I put it onto the zipper, I'm doing what's called the lap zipper setting, and I have it set up so that it's going to sew right side of the teeth. So it brings it all the way over, and it's the same thing. I'm going to have my foot, I will drop my foot down first, and it'll be right there on the edge, and it looks like I'm a little bit closer than 1/8 of an inch away from the zipper tape, and then you just stitch all the way down. I do back tack right here once I start on the beginning, and then we'll go all the way to the end. And you kind of remove the clips as you go. This is where you might want to have your tweezers for this part, because sometimes as you're removing your clips, you're going to find that the zipper tape might shift a little bit on there. So you'll be able to see that, so you'll be able to reach under here and just kind of hold that zipper tape in place so it doesn't shift on you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on sewing this down. I'm going to give it a little bit of a back tack. And always checking, grabbing my zipper tape, making sure it stays right where I need for it to stay, and we're going to just sew all the way down. Making sure everything is staying where you need for it to be. Now it's going to flip up a little bit right here. I'm just going to slide it under, making sure my zipper tape is still lined up against the edge, and just continue sewing. Grab my zipper tape. See right here, it's slipped underneath a little bit, so I'm going to pull it back out. Want to shift a little bit as you're going. And to the edge. And back tack. Okay, so there it is stitched all the way down. You can flip it over. You can see everything is all stitched down. So now we got to go back and do some more ironing. So you're going to open it up all the way, and you're going to push or press it so that it's going to lay flat. So I found that by doing a little bit of ironing, I can get this nice and flat. Now this is where you might want to trim away some of this. If you're working with the foam, you might want to trim away some of this excess foam because it gets really thick and bulky, but it doesn't seem to be a problem when we're working with the fleece. All right, so you're going to kind of just roll it back, kind of give it a little bit of pushing just to get everything back to where you want. Use your ironing board to kind of help you with that. And we're going to try to give this a press. I don't want to put too much heat on my zipper. I'm just applying some heat there, and then I'm going to roll it back and do the same thing on the back side, just giving it a little bit of a press. Just got some finagling to do on this edge right here. Okay, once you get it nice and pressed, and you got to where you feel pretty comfortable with being flat, now we're going to do what is called, I'm going to do a top stitch on here. But this one does not work if we top stitch all the way across. So we're going to go back to our cutting station, and we're going to mark. We're going to mark it because we're going to just do a partial top stitch across, and I'm going to show you where it is right here. This one is where I've got the zipper halfway done and I've top stitched it. So what you're going to do on your piece, I'm going to go by the instructions because when we do this, we're marking 2 inches from the edge. So you're going to go 2 inches from the very edge right here, not the edge of the zipper, but the edge of the fabric, and you're going to measure in 2 inches right here. So I'm just going to lay this on my mat, and I'm going over 2 inches, and with a marking tool that I can see, I'm just going to put just a little dot. And then go into the other side, same thing, find a little number, I'm on the 10, and I'm just going to go over to the 8, and I'm just going to put a little, just a little dot right there, just for me to be able to see it. So I've got a dot here and a dot here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to top stitch this. This one's already done. So I want it, because I know it can be seen on the back side, we're just top stitching this little area right here. If on using my zipper foot, I kept my zipper in the exact same place, and I drew up my thread when I did my top stitching. So you're just going to pull your thread up, and then you're going to top stitch all the way down, and I use a wider stitch. I think I had this one at 3.5, and we stitched it all the way across at the start of that dot, and I went all the way over to the other dot. So that's the next step that you need to do, get this little bit of top stitching and then cut your stitches. Now we're going to get the second half of the zipper done. So I'm going to set that aside because it's not top stitched, and we're going to go to this one. So the same thing is we're going to now grab your lining that you're going to be using, and now you've got to see where you got your center for your exterior and your lining, and you got your center for your zipper already right here. And just like we had done before, now we're taking this piece and we're laying it on, and we're matching up the notch right there at that seam, just like we did before. But this time, we already have this attached on this one side. And we're just going to follow it all the way down, lining up the edges all the way to the edge. And just like we did before, we're going to put our lining on top, and then we're going to get that stitched. And grab your lining, and just like before, right side down, match it up with your center. And reposition your clips. Making sure everything's lining up on the edge. All right, we're going to go back to the sewing machine, and we're going to go ahead and stitch this stitch down. All righty. See, got a little bit of an overhang on this one edge here, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this like I had done previously. Just this little bit right here. And that looks like it's lined up good. All right, so have your little tweezers ready. And just like we did before, we're going to go ahead and get this stitched down. On the right side. Making sure my zipper foot is right up against my teeth. Get a little back tack and go all the way down. Making sure our zipper has not slipped. And removing our little clips as we go. Slip down a little bit right there, so we're going to pull it back out. All right. Now our next step is we're going to go ahead and do our pressing like we did a little bit earlier, and then we'll get our basting or our top stitching done. So we're going to pull this down. You're fighting that bulk that's underneath there. So we're going to give this a press. And then the other side. Pushing it down. And we are going to have it all ready to go. All right, so now let's get our measurement done, and we will get our top stitch done. Now here's a trick. Since you already know where you're starting and stopping, so just kind of mark it directly across from there. And you should see it will still be about that 2 inches of where you were before. And now we're going to stitch our top stitch all the way across. Get these out of the way. I'm keeping my foot on there, and I'm actually keeping the needle in the exact same position of what I had just sewed. So the only thing I'm doing is I'm just making sure everything is nice and flat, and I'm going up to where I see my little mark. I'm going to just drop my foot, grab my needle thread, and I'm going to pull up my thread from the bottom. So I'm going to drop my needle, bring it up, and then grabbing my bobbin thread. Now I would normally do this in a darker fabric, but I wanted you to be able to see it. So, or a darker thread or coordinating thread, but we're going to go ahead and do it in the white so you can see the stitching. And now I'm going to just do a little back tack right here, just a couple stitches forward, couple stitches back. And we're just going to follow my zipper tape all the way down, making sure everything is staying nice and flat. I normally would have raised my stitch length up, but we're going to keep it right there. Now I'm coming to where that second dot is, the last dot. And then we're just going to back tack right here. And there we go. So now we got our top stitching done. So just clip your threads. You shouldn't have any big knots on the bottom side, but you will have a couple of these little loose threads where you cut your threads. Okay, so now you got your top stitching all completed right here. So let's take a look at what our instructions tell us to do. So now we're at the point where now we're going to go ahead and install our zipper pull. So here's our zipper pull. And now we're going to figure out how do we get this on here, all right? Now there are videos out there that talk about how to install your zipper to your zipper tape. Martelli has a tool called our zipper pull, so I'll be using this. I've seen people who use a fork. There's all kinds of different ways to do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your zipper tape in front of you, kind of laid out, and you're going to go ahead and do the dreaded, I'm going to separate it. So you're going to separate it by about, I'd say about 3-4 inches. Not all the way across, you're just separating it just a little bit, just so that you can work with it. With the Martelli zipper pull tool, I take my zipper and I just slide it into here like this. And what we're doing is now we're going to insert it into here. So however you find makes it easier for you to grab to get those in there. For me, I found it was easier for me to kind of go like this. And now you're just going to slide it in. And we're going to pull the zipper out. And we're going to zip it down halfway, about right here. I'm going to go all the way down before I go off to the end. And then I'm going to come back. I can't. Just zip it halfway. All right, once you have your zipper pull on, then you're going to stitch across right here, and we're going to stitch across right here. What we're doing is we're just going to be securing that zipper so that it doesn't come undone. And then we're going to trim off that excess. So let's just go back to the machine, and we're going to get everything stitched down. We're going to sew across the zipper tape. That's why you needed to have a zipper tape that is sewable for this. So I'm going to change out my foot. And I'll go back to our regular setting. And we're going to start on this side, and we're just going to stitch across about a 1/2 inch or so from the edge. And just run the stitching, going it back and forth. Just a couple of times. And then we're going to go to the other side, line up our zipper tape. And we're going to stitch across right here. Just lining it up. I'm going to pull the zipper down, just lining it up. And we're going to drop our foot, and we're going to stitch across, kind of holding it. You won't see this one at the very end because it kind of gets tucked in. All right. Now we're going to trim away about a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch away from that stitching on the outside. And on this side too. All right, so now let's see where we are on our instructions. Okay, so that is the last thing. Once you have the tape in there and you stitch it down, now we're going to be at the part where we are going to be making our strap for our swivel clasp, and we're going to go ahead and make our tab, our two-tone tab. So we're going to grab we'll start with the strap. We'll get this one done, and then we'll do the tab. So what I want you to do, and this is where I had made a mistake on the instructions. I had you folding over on both ends 1/4 of an inch, but you only need to fold over on one end. So let's go to the ironing station, because that's everything that we're going to be doing right here. Is we're going to get this all set up for our sewing. So let's head to the iron station. I'm going to show you how to get your zipper tab and your tab and your strap done. All right, so starting with our long pieces for our strap, I need for you to fold down 1/4 of an inch on both of the pieces, and we kind of want them to kind of match. So I'm going to take one end, and I'm going to keep them both together. I'm just going to fold them down, and I'm going to hit that little 1/4 of an inch right there with my iron, because I'm going to match it on both sides. So we're going to get that one folded over, and then we're going to get this other side folded over to match the same width down as my green and my dark piece. Because this is going to create a cute little two-toned strap. And then we're going to give that a press. And I'm going to add a little steam to this, just so it makes it set a little bit stronger. Kind of want both of them to be the exact same width down. That's all I need to do on that piece. Now on your two pieces for your tab, you need to find your center. So I'm just going to give it a finger press, and then it's sort of like how you're making a binding. I'm going to fold in the edges on both sides into that center. Right there, nice and flat. Now I'm not going to fold it over again. We're just folding in those edges to the center. Flipping it over. And we'll do it on both pieces. Find your center. You can mark, you can draw it, or you can just give it a finger press just to know where your center is. And then fold in each of the edges to that center. You want the centers to line up. It's going to get it to the correct width that I need it to be for your for the tab or the D-ring that's in your kit. Okay, so now you're going to take those two pieces and you're going to put both of the seam where you folded it in, you're going to match those up together. Just like that. So now we're going to have our tab, it's going to be two-toned just like our strap is going to be two-toned. And all we have to do on this one is we're going to stitch down on both sides. On our strap that we're going to be making, we're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way around, but we're going to leave this opening right here where we had turned down our fabric. So we're going to stitch 1/4 inch all the way around on that, and then we're just going to top stitch down on both sides of this, making sure everything stays nice and lined up. All right, so let's get that done. So I have my machine set up first for the 1/4 inch. So just keeping all of our fabrics together. Stitch down, over, across, and up, leaving this open, and then we're going to turn it. You can pin or clip it to hold it in place. I'm going to do a little back tack right here. And stitching it down. once you get this stitched, be sure to clip off your corners. That way you can have nice sharp points. I like to get all the extra off. Get all that extra bulk out of here. All right, set that aside. Now let's get these pieces sewed. So this is just a top stitching that I'm doing. But I want it to be lined up very well. And I'm going to raise my stitch length up to about 3. And we're just going to do it about 1/8 of an inch down. I'm going to use my little scrap piece of fabric as my little leader. Get it started so I don't have any thread buildup. And we're just stitching it down one side. And then we're going to stitch it down the other side. Just adding another little element touch to it. Tabs can be made out of anything. I've had them made out of 3-inch strips that you just fold over. This one I wanted to have that two-tone effect like we're having for the strap, and it matches the lining of your bag also. All right, so this piece is ready to go. So all you're going to do is you're going to grab your D-ring and you're just going to slip it through and just kind of fold it in half. Now we're going to go turn this one. So there's all kinds of turning tools to use for turning this piece, but I found using a regular pencil with an eraser worked very well for this project. So I kind of smooth it through my fingers just a little bit, and I separate it out on the end, and I'm just kind of going to push it in just a little bit, just kind of tucking it in right there, about the width of a pencil. I'm going to be putting that in here, just open it up and just kind of pushing it in. Then I'm going to grab my eraser on my pencil and I'm just going to push it on there. I found this was so much faster to turn this piece. Now you could sew a ribbon on the end and just pull that ribbon out, but it just went through very well just to get it all the way through. Now I do grab my little tool and we're going to push those edges out. I got this little wooden stick and I'm going to push those corners out because I want those corners to be nice and crisp. Just pushing those out without poking it through. I want it to be nice and crisp right there. And then just pushing out the edges. And then we're going to press this down too. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll press this. I'm grabbing my D-ring. Grab my D-ring and I just slip it through. So you might want to have the green on the inside, you might want to have the green on the outside, but you got a choice of which way you want it to be. So that's using that little tab with the D-ring. So there's that. Let's go get this pressed and then we're going to top stitch it and then we'll finish the construction for putting it onto our swivel. So I'm just going to kind of roll this as I go, getting everything all nice and smooth and flattened out, and then we're just going to make it nice and flat. Then we're going to top stitch it all the way around. It's going to close up that opening. I think I got one where I've already top stitched it here. And we'll just go ahead and get this one top stitched. Since I have it still set up for that setting, I'm just going to do 1/8 of an inch all the way around. What we're doing right here is we're closing up that opening now. And a little back tack. All right, so the next step is we need to have our swivel clasp. So let's go ahead and grab that, because we're needing to now get this secured to make our strap. So if you see right here, with my little clasp, you're just going to feed it through, and then you're going to loop it around. So I think I want my green to be on the inside. Well, I think I'll have the green on the outside. Well, I'll do the green on the inside. You can do whatever you want, right? You can do whatever you want. So you're just going to loop it around, and I have it overlapping, as you can see here, by about an inch. Then you're going to do what I'm calling a box, kind of a box stitching. You're going to stitch it, a box or rectangle. You're just going to do this stitch going all the way around where you've got it overlapped. So you got it overlapped here. You can see it's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, and I'm just going to stitch here, 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 and then I'm going to do a cross stitch. However, it's just securing it just like this. So I got it secured. So once you've got it stitched, it's secured on here. Then you're going to take this, after you have it stitched up, you're going to slide this all the way to the edge, as close to your swivel clasp right here, as I did right here, and then I'm just going to do another stitch going across it. Once you do that, now your strap is complete. Of course, I would have normally had done this with more of a coordinating fabric. You wouldn't even see any of these stitches, but I wanted you to see it in the white on how to do that boxing stitch that I have described in here, and doing the X across it, and then what I meant when you slide it all the way to the end, and then you're just stitching it across right here. So once you do that, here is your handle, your strap, all ready to go. Once you have that done, you're going to set this aside. You've already got your tab done. So now we're going to be needing this, because now we're going to sew all of it together. We're really at the final steps here for putting this together. So once you have this all cut and trimmed, now we're just going to go ahead and put our pieces right sides together. But what I need for you to do is take a look at the end of where your zipper pull is going to be when it's closed. When your zipper is all the way closed, which direction is that? Which side is that? Because that's the side you want to have your tab for when you go to open it. You want your tab on this side. Because if you're going to carry it closed, you want to have it where the zipper is up on top. So I see on this one, it's over here, it's on this side. So I'm going to put my tab, it's going to be about right here. What I have in the instructions is you're going to go about 2 inches down from the zipper. So you're going to measure again that 2-inch mark about right here, and with your tool just kind of mark it. And you're just going to take your zipper tab where it's folded in half, and you're going to set it onto that 2-inch mark. Now you can clip it, or I found it's easier if I just go ahead and base stitch that, but you want the D-ring to be on the inside. So you're going to have that in place, and now you're just going to take your 2 pieces and you're going to line up all of your edges and just clip it all the way around, and then you're going to stitch it all the way around. So we'll reposition this clip right here to hold the tab, and you're just lining everything up. You're going to stitch all the way around. Got your big straight edge on the bottom. You're going to get as close as you can to the zipper pull without getting into the zipper. Not the zipper pull, but the actual zipper tape. All right, so we're going to just stitch a 1/4 inch all the way around. All right, so get this set up on the 1/4 inch setting. So when I get close to that zipper tape and I'm making sure I'm pulling my lining out of my way, I'm going to get as close as I can to that zipper tape without sewing onto the zipper tape. So you kind of have it bent just a little bit, just pulling it out of the way, and we're going to back tack right here and just sew all the way around. Coming to where my tab is. If you want, you can back tack over that tab to give it a little extra strength. Then I'm going to come all the way up and I'm going to get as close as I can to the zipper. And back tack. All right, so now you're going to do the same thing with your lining. You're going to match up all of your edges. I'm going to start at my points here on the bottom and work my way up. But you're going to leave an opening on the bottom, about 3-4 inches, because that's where you're going to be pulling everything through. And you're going to also sew a 1/4 inch all the way around, back tacking at the opening that you're leaving for turning. We are so close to being completed. This is a great project you can do in all kinds of fun fabrics. I have one to show you in a minute where I did it with a stripe fabric just to show you how well that turned out. And I'm going to show you this new sizes that we have also. These would make just great little projects. You could put different type of handles on them. You could do you know, like a long strap. You could have that webbing that would make a good handle on it. All right, so let's get this sewed, and I'm going to leave that opening in the center and being sure to back tack. Again, I'm pulling my zipper pull out of the way so I don't sew, or not the zipper pull, but the zipper tape, so we do not stitch onto it. And then we're just going to back tack as close as I can. I got to get up a little bit further. There we go. Pulling that zipper tape out. All right. Now here's my straight edge bottom, so I'm going to sew about 1 inch in, back tack, and then I'm going to go over about 3-4 inches, staying on that straight edge, back tack here, and then finish up. Getting as close as I can to the edge. All right, now before we turn it, we need to go ahead and get all of our curves clipped. So we have a handful, just a little bit here on both sides and those curves right there. So I'm just going to clip some of these curves. It's just going to give it a little bit of more of an easement for turning, and you don't want to, be sure to not clip your stitches. I'm just doing some little bitty clips about 1/2 inch apart, I guess. I'm not worried about the straight edge on the bottom. So I do this on both of the lining and your exterior fabric. Get your curves clipped. You can use pinking shears if you just want to trim that off a little bit. All right, now we just gotta reach in, and I think I left my opening too small. I always do. Ever done that? I want to be able to get my hand in there. And you're going to find your zipper, and you're going to open up your zipper if you've left it closed. Just go ahead and find your zipper, open it up, and then reach in and just start pulling your project through. So let's go ahead and get it out. Now you have an option where you can hand stitch it, or you could go ahead and sew it with your sewing machine. I always just hit it with the sewing machine, but you can hand stitch that opening close once we get it all done. But once you have it through, go ahead and get your hand in there, and you want to push out all of those seams, including your darts that you had used. Just give it a good push out. And then you're going to do the same thing with the pushing out all the seams for the lining. Then you're going to stitch that closed. Hand stitch it or machine stitch it. Then once you get that done, you're going to pop your lining on the inside. Grab your little handle that you had made. Here's my little handle, and you just attach it to your D-ring. Zip it up. Your zipper, you'll find it just magically goes onto the inside. And your project is complete. That is the little zipper bag. So the little puff pouch, needed to push it out a little bit better on the bottom. But that is our puff pouch, and it's just a fun little bag. Again, this is the medium size. So this would be a great little cosmetic bag. You could add a pocket to the inside of it. Let me show you one that I got right here. This one is I did with this really fun fabric that had a stripe on it. And this one actually has the puff. This is the fun foam that's inside this one. So it holds its shape just a little bit more, but this one's just a lot of fun. This one is, again, with a striped fabric. I actually have the bolt right here. How cool is that? Just this piece right here. I just matched it up when I did my cutting of both of the exterior pieces. So it just lined up so it's the same on both sides. So that was a lot of fun to do with a striped fabric for this one. Again, this one was done with the fusible foam, but let me show you some other sizes that we have right here. This one here is the small, so you do the exact same thing. This one I think is also done with the foam, so the foam works very nice in holding all of the sizes or holding everything out. Just a cute little bag that you could make, easy to do. This one here is the large, and I had this really cool fabric. What is it, Stitch? Lilo and Stitch. Now this one, I just created a little pocket to go easy. So I sewed it, after I had sewed the darts together, then I just created a pocket, and I sewed it onto the lining to make these pockets in here. So that's where I've got a big enough pocket where I could slip my phone into here. So this one's a lot of fun, and this is just using that webbing and just adding the little handles onto here. That was super, super easy. So you do this prior to sewing all of the zipper and everything on, and you just hold it, you just have it out of the way when you're doing your zipper part. And this one is the largest one. This is the extra large. He's a big guy. I originally was thinking I put the tabs on both sides with the D-rings and having a big strap, but I think this would actually look better with the same type of webbing handles on it. And I got double pockets on the inside, just big, huge pockets that I made inside this one. So this one is a project that's a lot of fun. You could do it with other materials. I think this would look great with canvas. It would look great with all kinds of materials. Whatever materials that you have, just have fun making it. I hope you enjoy doing this project as much as I enjoy doing it. I've made a bunch of these, and I think they would make absolutely great gifts. That's the one thing I absolutely love about the Martelli templates, because it's not like a paper template that you can only use maybe a couple times. You'll be able to use these over and over. And here, I think I got the other sizes, just so that you see how big they are. This one here was the small, and that made this one right here. This one here is the large one, and that would have been this one right here. And that's just a nice little bag. And then the extra large, the big one, that would be this guy right here. So this one's going to need about half a yard of fabric, I think, because if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 22 inches or 1 fat quarter. So you're going to need about a half yard to be able to make something like this. But these are the templates, so be sure to check them out. They'll be available to you soon. All right, everybody, this is it. This is the Martelli Puff Pouch in your June box. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye, everybody.